won't happen in a developed market, in a proper stock market. So we should not really get too carried away with what's happened. What's happened is that after 30 years of war, there is peace. And the smart money is that Sri Lanka will move forward and really develop at a very fast rate. So that's the reason the stock market has moved. And it's not on anything really fundamental, and it doesn't mean anything really.
Now you stated there are few elements who control the stock market. On the other way, can I put it this way, that there are certain elements who can manipulate the market too?
Well, it's like this: when you have a small industry, anything can happen. I mean, how do you really analyze whether it's manipulated or whether that person is really interested in buying? Now it's not easy, because what happens is, say for instance a big buyer comes in to buy a stock, right, and we know liquidity is very thin on our market, okay, and he comes in. Now for instance, very recently a fund out of Denver came in and bought 50 million shares of John Keells Holdings. Now John Keells is our third largest company on the stock exchange, the most traded share on the market, and the share price has moved up 25-30 rupees. Now in the same way, if someone came in and did that to a smaller stock, he may be accused of manipulating it, because he is an individual, and he is probably a guy who you feel is doing it just to push it up and sell the shares. So you got to be careful how you tread this, because at the end of the day we need everybody to participate in the market, including the retail clients who you're talking about, and or even the institutions who could be accused of manipulating. But certainly, Mahesh, in certain cases, if the SEC has an investigative unit, the CSE has an investigative unit, I mean, if both those units can't monitor what's happening on a tiny market, I mean, then it's really, I mean, it's very difficult to answer your question, But I personally don't think there's much manipulation taking place. It has happened in the past, certainly. There have been instances, and I think the SEC has come down quite hard on some of the people who very clearly seem to have manipulated, or they have evidence against. But all in all, most of what's happening on the Colombo Stock Exchange is fairly clean, and I mean, I think it's very clean. And I mean, people are investing with hope that things will be better tomorrow.
Well, the Gallan Fund fiasco and the Rajaratnam arrest sent some ripples in the Colombo Stock Exchange. What are the implications of the situation when Rajaratnam was arrested, and now he's slowly withdrawing some of his interest in certain companies, for instance from his interest in JKH, if I'm not mistaken. So what are the sentiment when the Rajaratnam and the Gallan Fund fiasco, I call it a fiasco, occurred?
I think initially it was fear. Everybody thought that the market would collapse because he holds most of the top stocks, and he had a portfolio of about $300 million, very, very large sum for our market. And I think the market corrected by about 15%. It came down by 10 or 15% soon after the Gallan issue. But what really happened was that by this time, most of the stockbroking companies, including ours, had really worked hard on getting a lot of overseas investors, especially from the US, and that completely changed the landscape of what was to happen, because they just absorbed all of his stock. His stocks in Commercial Bank, DFCC, and now JKH and NDV have all been placed, and the market has continuously moved up, which is a very good indicator of things to come. So, I mean, it was very unexpected what happened in terms of how the liquidity was mopped up, but it argues well for Sri Lanka.
Well, Mr. Ratna, you have personally involved in bringing down big-time investors to Sri Lanka through the stock market. Currently, SEC and the Colombo Stock Exchange is looking at attracting more foreign direct investments and invite more foreign investors to invest in New Sri Lanka. And SEC has agents in major stock markets in Berlin, for instance, London stock market, in US and a few other countries, in Hong Kong and Singapore as well. So bringing down the big time investors has always been more or less on a more private scale. Like, you know, if I have a company, I want to bring down this, I bring him down. Shouldn't this be changed, and the regulatory bodies with whom the responsibility of expanding this industry is lying, look at this in a more serious way and get collaborations from the private sector as well, and establish a transparent, proper system to bring down the investors?
It will be difficult for the SEC and the stock exchange to directly get involved in marketing and promoting Sri Lanka directly. They can certainly help in terms of organizing conferences and making introductions and things like that. But what is more important is their actual role. What is a stock exchange? What should they be doing? We have 234 companies in 2000. We have 234 companies today. What's happened for 10 years, you know? I mean, what are the new issues that are coming out? What are the new companies they have lined up to bring into the market? What about the demutualization of the stock exchange? Why hasn't that happened? I mean, I can think of a whole load of things. I mean, where are the derivatives? Where is short selling? I mean, in any market, you know, I mean, you have to have more than one instrument. Then, I mean, what about the bond markets, and what are we doing to promote them and to increase trading? So there are a lot of things the stock exchange can actually do, other than, you know, directly getting involved in trying to promote Sri Lanka to investors.
Now, you represent the broker community. Now, another issue that is prevalent in Sri Lanka is that stock brokering commission rates are very high in comparison to the rates prevalent in the other stock exchanges in the world. For instance, Singapore, Hong Kong, Dubai, for that matter, even in London. So this has turned out to be a somewhat deterrence to the investors. And don't you think shouldn't this rate be coming down on par with the investors who are willing to invest their money in the Colombo Stock Exchange?
Not at all, Mahesh. I think the
But do you agree it's the highest rate prevalent in the world?
yes, it should be the highest, because it's
It should be the highest.
It should be the highest because it's a tiny market. It's probably one of the smallest markets in the world. When you're dealing in a small market, the effort that goes in, the investment that goes in to actually promote the market, to service the market, right, costs a lot more than overseas. What's really happening is people go to the US, they go to the UK, they see how things happen, they talk about 10 basis points, 5 basis points, and, you know, all these jargon that the West use, and come back and try and implement it here. Absolute rubbish. You know, we have to do our own research, we have to hire our own analysts, we have to build our own online systems, and what are the turnover we are doing? We are doing 1,000th of what other countries are doing, and we are trying to compete with them on it's rubbish, you see, because at the end of the day, this fund manager does not care what he pays, because he knows it's a small market, he knows, you know, he's paying for, you know, the trade that is taking place, and he's getting a share that probably is going to perform a lot better than, you know, what he would, and a lot quicker than what it would in the West or whatever. So he pays for a certain product. It's like I don't know whether this is the right comparison, but if you're buying a run-of-the-mill car, you know, like a Toyota or whatever, you know, you probably the commission you pay is less. But if you buy a Ferrari or something, it's more. But I'm not comparing Sri Lanka to Ferrari. But it's limited edition because it's small. You know, I mean the market's small, so that's what they are paying for. And bringing in negotiable brokerage, basically, you know, it just wiped out revenue coming into the country for no reason. I mean, when a fund manager comes and visits the SEC and the stock exchange, he obviously has to have something to talk about. He'll probably say, you know, your commission rate is high. Why is it high? And the explanation to that is that you're dealing in a market which has low turnover, low transaction, and the cost is high. Without saying that, they have gone to please them and just completely messed it up. Today, brokers are doing transactions for 50,000, 100,000 rupees. I mean, the Sri Lanka Telecom transaction, which would have brought in 20-30 million rupees to the broker, probably brought him 5 lakhs or $1 million. I mean, it just doesn't make any sense. So I don't agree that the brokerage is too high and we should reduce the brokerage. And obviously you'll feel that, you know, it's coming from somebody in the brokerage. I'm trying to only safeguard myself. No, that's not it. Because as soon as you bring in negotiable brokerage and our incomes drop, the product that we give out is going to suffer.
Will suffer. Well, that's the opinion of Mrs. Senrathan on the bringing down of the brokerage fee that are prevalent in the Colombo Stock Exchange, which some people points out as one of the highest rates prevalent in the world. But he has a point that in order to safeguard the interest of the industry, given the fact that Sri Lanka is a tiny market, what he opines is that the brokerage commission rate should kept intact. Now I'm supposed to take a small break. I'll be right back.